Russia has suffered its second major terrorist attack in just 3 months. The latest hit the country's restive Dagestan region, where suspected coordinated attacks struck places of worship. Footage posted online showed gunmen in a shootout after attacking a police checkpoint. At least 15 officers have been killed. So far, no group has claimed responsibility for the attacks. On Sunday, gunmen targeted 2 churches, synagogues and a police post in the cities of Makhachkala and Derbent, which are home to Jewish and Christian communities. Dagestan's Interior Ministry reported that 6 suspected gunmen had been killed by police. Russia's Investigative Committee says it has opened a criminal probe into what it is calling terrorist acts. And Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held a phone call with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, expressing his condolences and condemning the terror attacks. This shooting comes just months after Daesh-K claimed responsibility for an attack which killed more than 130 people in a Moscow concert hall. And to further discuss the attack in Dagestan, joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Theodore Karasik. He is a senior advisor at Gulf State Analytics. And from Doha, Marwan Kabalan is the director at the Arab Center for Research and Policy Studies. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Theodore, what does this latest attack tell us about Russia's internal security challenges?
The internal securities and the internal security problems within Russia are being tested by what's ongoing in Dagestan. Dagestan is a rather complicated republic within the Northern Caucasus, and it is from within that republic that this type of activity would pop up, because it's very easy to recruit, but also to incite Islamic extremism within the republic. And that's what we saw the other day. It was more of a local occurrence as opposed to something from outside.
Marwan, what kind of a message were attackers trying to send to Russia and its leadership with these attacks, you think?
Well, it's first of all, maybe we need to ascertain the motives behind this attack. Many people believe that if we are going to explain what happened in Dagestan a few days ago, perhaps we have to look at 2 different aspects of this issue. The one is related perhaps to domestic context, in which many people inside Russia, especially within minorities inside Russia, I'm talking here about the Muslim minority inside Russia, which feels that it has been perhaps targeted more than others with the conscription, the Russian draft, because as you know, Russia is actually mobilizing as many troops as they could in order to feed the war in Ukraine. And many people that minorities, especially Muslims, are disproportionately being targeted in this draft campaign by the Russian government. And the other aspect of this is external indeed, because many people believe that if you look at the targets in this attack, synagogues, churches, so maybe we need to look at what's happening right now in Gaza, and we need to look at the reaction of the people of Dagestan concerning the genocide that Israel is carrying right now. So we have to look perhaps at 2 different aspects in order to understand the context of this attack, and then maybe we look at the messages that the attackers are actually trying to send to the Russian government.
So, Theodore, what do you think? I mean, how is Israel's war on Gaza impacting Russia's multiple ethnic minority regions?
I don't think that this is directly related in this particular regard. I think this is part of a narrative that is written for Western consumption. There are indeed sympathy for what is happening in Gaza, but a direct tie does not seem to be existing in this particular case. In this particular case, this had to deal with a particular family that has a criminal background that may or may not have been hired for some type of activity against 3 different institutions. We need to remember, of course, that Dagestan which neighbors Azerbaijan and is on the Caspian Sea, plays a very vital role in Russia's economic scene. However, because of the migration situation and because migrants are being arrested en masse for illegal papers and processing and so on, and sent to the front is a nasty side effect of what we're seeing in the Caucasus. How that is tied to Gaza is kind of a stretch.
So, Marwan, Turkish President Erdogan has also come out and condemned these latest attacks in Dagestan. Is there any risk of unrest in Dagestan spilling over the wider Caucasus region?
Well, I mean, you know, the Caucasus region has always seen certain degrees of instability. Don't forget that Chechnya is just next door, and Chechnya witnessed two bloody wars between 1994, 1996, and between 1999 and 2009, where several thousands people have been killed and entire cities have been erased by the Russian army. So I believe Dagestan is not, as you know, I mean, far away from this context. And yes, we might be seeing certain degrees of instability in this part of Russia. I'm not saying that that is mainly it's only related to the war or the conflict, past conflicts in Chechnya, but there are potentials actually to see more instability in this part of Russia.
So, Theodore, as of now, no group has claimed responsibility for these attacks, and some Russian officials said that the attackers were adherents of an international terrorist organization. What does that mean?
That usually means Russian propaganda for it's an internal issue. If this was an actual Khorasan attack or related group, there would be definite messages. But when the Russian government comes out and says these types of words, they're trying to diffuse the story so that it makes it look like that they're under attack because of the soft underbelly of Russia, and particularly in the northern Caucasus. That stretch of the Caucasus from Kabardino-Balkaria through Chechnya, Ingushetia, and to Dagestan is really kind of a tinderbox of mountains and plains where there are various groups of people who have suffered from Russian rule, but also ethnic groups who attack each other because of crime or different points of view. Chechnya is a very clan-based society, and with Kadyrov getting older, and it looks like that there's some movement there to alter the leadership. This could have a rolling effect across the northern Caucasus that could lead to some further violence. But when the Russian government says that this is coming from outside, it really is not. It's more endemic to the society itself, particularly in the northern Caucasus.
So, Marwan, what could the Kremlin do to ease at least tensions in the region?
I think, first of all, we need to look at what happened in Dagestan as part of a wider picture, because as you know, today, Russia is completely consumed by the war in Ukraine, and that is having an impact on its internal security somehow. But Russians, on the other hand, believe because of the Ukraine war, there might be some sort of support, external support. Don't forget that Moscow has witnessed this bloody attack on the concert hall a few months ago, on last March actually, and the Russians, they insisted during that attack that the Ukrainians or maybe other external parties have been somehow supporting certain terrorist activities inside Russia in order to shift the focus of Russia from Ukraine into internal security. I mean, somehow, of course, when you have internal instability in any given country, that would have consequences on its war, external wars. And I mean, the Russians are making that argument. Of course, I mean, we don't need to take everything the Russians are saying at face value, but maybe there will be always somebody who's benefiting actually from the from any sort of instability inside Russia. And clearly, I mean, the Ukrainians might be doing that, and other countries who are right now in informal war with Russia might be also doing that.
So, Taylor, would you agree with Marwan? I mean, could this attack be aimed at changing the focus from Russia's war in Ukraine to Russia's internal tensions?
Part of what Russia has done over the decades is always blamed Ukraine or the West, obviously, for its woes when something is occurring inside. During the Chechen wars, it was very frequent for the Russian press to talk about Wahhabis and Ukrainian nationalists or Banderas together in the same sentence. This is the exact kind of language that we're seeing today. So the thinking is the same and the excuses are the same. So when an event like this happens, for example, the shooting at the theater, this was definitely the type of attack that would force Moscow to blame Ukraine first while it tries to take care of its internal situation. And what they did, as we discussed before, is they began to round up migrants.
All right, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.